Microfinancing is a very big topic at the Doing Good, Doing Well conference at IESE in Barcelona. And one person who's had 10 years experience in this field is Jacques Tourelle. He's the general manager of the Aga Khan Agency for Microfinance. Jacques, thank you very much for being with us. Jacques, which countries does your agency serve and why these countries?
Our agency is present and operational currently in 13 countries in the world. And those countries are in Central and South Asia, the Middle East and Africa. The countries in Central Asia, I think it's important to note it, are Pakistan, Afghanistan, Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan. The countries in the Middle East, Syria and Egypt, and then there are a number of countries in Sub-Saharan Africa. The reason for being in those countries is that we are part of a broader network of development agencies, which we have created over the last 50 years by Prince Aga Khan. There are a number of social activities. Microfinance is in between the commercial and the social activities, very strongly anchored on the social side as far as our agency is concerned, but include also education, health, civil society development, and rural development. And then there is a cultural dimension with activities in the preservation of historical patrimony in a number of countries. And it is a very large network. The whole network is employing about 80,000 people. It is one of the largest private network active in development in the world.
And how big financially is the group? That's 250 million?
I could not say. I mean, what are the total assets? Because I don't know that there is an aggregation of all the assets of the group, because some of the activities, as I said, are in the social sector, some in the cultural sector, and I don't think they have a balance sheet. As far as the agency is concerned, we have currently about 3,500 employees in the world. As I said, we are present in 13 countries, and our total balance sheet is a little less at $500 million.
What kinds of projects do you support?
This is a microfinance agency, so the main product is microfinance. There is no absolute definition of microfinance, depending on who you are asking, but let me characterize our own borrower and our own product. Our own borrower is usually, for 2/3 of them, a man and 1/3 a woman, which is putting us a little at a difference with some historical institutions which are probably serving women. And the average size of the loan varies from one country to the other, obviously, because we are dealing with countries with different levels of economic development. But the average loan would be in the range of a few $100s, $400 to $800, I would say. So these are pretty small loans. There should be a balance between sustainable financial institutions that are therefore covering their costs and making a surplus, and also offering and being anchored very strongly on social objectives, trying to reach out to populations that are isolated and that are underserved. So that has been the change, and this change is continuing.
What kind of returns are we talking about percentage-wise?
There is a very large range of returns. People can be trying to generate only a very small return, a small percentage over what they invest, and their objective in this case is to maintain the institution and make sure the institution is active over the years. And then you have got at the other end some people that have been making a lot of money in a short period of time because they were charging extremely high interest rates and making a very large margin.
Microfinancing seems to be the investment du jour these days. Are you not afraid that we might be paralleling the subprime mortgage problem and creating a bubble in microfinancing?
I think this is a good point, a very good point. In fact, some institutions have suffered during the crisis. Some microfinance institutions have suffered. The institutions more and more now are established as microfinance banks. So they have a structure like that of a bank with a capital. They borrow usually from international organizations or local organizations or from financial markets, and some of them are allowed to mobilize deposits. The issue is when an institution is becoming very fragile and has a large amount of small deposits, because then these smaller depositors would suffer. One has to look at the stable resources and build up the lending reasonably and at the level that the family can generate from their activity, from the activity which is financed by this microcredit. I would say that, like in any other institution, the trick is to balance your risks and to know your customers and to monitor your customers and to and to make those to make those loans very prudently as possible. I would say that just to add, on the other side, the capital requirements for a microfinance bank are usually much higher than that of a commercial bank, in the range of 15, 20%, 30% sometimes.
Who are the customers?
Customers for us are 50% of them are in the rural areas, 50% in the urban areas, and that's something that we have deliberately decided. Now it's not just 50 and 50; it can fluctuate a little. But there is a problem right now in the way microfinance operates, in the sense that most of the institutions in the world are lending in cities, and as per the World Bank reports, 80% of the poor living in rural areas. Now, why are people lending in cities? Because it's easier, because it's less costly, because it's in some way less risky, because you can identify and zero in on your customer, on your non-performing customer more easily. But so therefore, we have ourselves decided to serve those rural areas. It's more costly, more difficult, and more risky.
Besides loans, what other kind of microfinancing instruments are there? I mean, do you have deposits?
Yes, yes. Of course, many people would equate microfinance and microcredit, and for many years, institutions have focused only on credit. Many institutions still focus only on credit. Many institutions are only licensed to focus only on credit, because the laws in countries are usually very protective of depositors, which is normal. Initially, the institutions were focusing on income-generating projects, and then they moved into housing, health, and education. And more, certain microfinance institutions are serving those sectors which are more difficult to serve, which are generating less revenues, but clearly the life of a person is not only about making money, but also about being able to educate his or her children and getting also proper medical service. There are certain products which are not very complicated to set up, like, for example, our borrowers more and more are insured if they have if they die, or if they are impaired in their ability to work. There is a small amount of an insurance on that, and they are not required to repay their loan, and the family is not required to repay the loan.
Jacques, let me end by asking you where you see all this going in 3 to 5 years.
People are talking of building up a seamless financial sector. Some people say that. And many people see microfinance as an extension of the banking system. And that's what it is to some extent. The financial side, yes, definitely, because it's just a question for financial institutions to recognize that there is a group of people there that are, between quotes, bankable. I mean, this is a very bad word, but people use that word, bankable. They can borrow, they can repay, they can have a deposit account with you. They can also, they need other services. I mentioned transfer services, which are largely used by the poor immigrants in many countries, international payment services. So this part of the population, which is very large, I mean, more than half of the population live below the poverty lines. 3 billion people, 3 to 4 billion people. This population was not served by the financial services, by the financial institutions, and microfinance is helping to push the border, to push that threshold down towards those people, to a certain limit. The other thing which the financial sector, in my view, cannot do is the whole social dimension. So there is there is a role for different institutions that are established by people that have a concern for social issues, which is equating their concern for getting a return. And in my view, this can be achieved through separate institutions largely. And also, it requires certain skills, certain commitments, certain services which are social services, which you don't find in the financial institutions. In the case of microfinance, they have to be developed in parallel. Social mobilization, technical support and advice have to be there to help those people to grow and develop and move into a more decent life.
Thank you very much, Jacques Tourelle, for being with us on INSEAD Knowledge.
Thank you.